and hopefully, I feel bad saying I hope it keeps growing, but
it's going. Oh, for sure, it's going to keep growing.
I hope it gets. I hope it entices people to report what happens.
No, I hope it does too, because I think that going back to this again, I think it's empowering. I think it's cathartic. I think it's healing for people too, even if they don't get their day in court. They're still able to report. And, you know, but the thing about, I mean, I've worked with people that have gone through the whole system, have gone to court, and then the jury comes back with a not guilty verdict. Mm-hmm. And the victim looks at me with tears in her eyes and says, Leslie, why did I do this? So I think that you have to find peace and healing first in yourself, because the law is not the place to find that. It's not. I mean, maybe that's a little helpful, but I think that's part of the journey through this. And if you get that, then you're lucky. But I don't know. I don't believe that happens.
Well, people think the law and justice are directly connected, and they aren't always.
Right.
They aren't always. There's a gap sometimes.
They're not. And you know, and the thing is, I have to say, you know, working in Chester County, the district attorney's office there and the people that I worked with were amazing. And they tried. They worked so hard for the victims. But it's just, there are just instances where they can't, they can't press charges. They can't move forward. And it's not that they don't believe the victim. They do. They absolutely do. But that's not, unfortunately, that's not where the victim is going to find an end to this road that they're on.
Well, they can only win a case based on the amount of evidence and how much they can prosecute it under existing laws, and that's not always enough. You know, sometimes there's not enough. I just this afternoon sent an email to the district attorney, kind of complimenting him, because I was saying, you know, he is, out of all the people I deal with, he is the best, no holds barred, about getting back to you. He gets back to you so quick that you feel like you're taking him from something, but he's just so good at it, and it's very encouraging. And I know that I know of a case that right now it bothers them tremendously. They can't do more on, and it does bother them. And what people don't realize when they're involved in any of these incidents, whether it's domestic violence or a missing person, whatever, is that when you're involved in the case, it's everything in your world, and it's the most important thing, and it should be.
Right.
But you've just become introduced to an existing system, and you're kind of the new kid on the block, whether you want to be or not. And that system existed before your incident.
Right.
It's going to exist after your incident. Right. And you see a lot of people that are very zealous about, well, why can't you do more for me? And you kind of want to say to them sometimes, where were you yesterday? This is going on yesterday. This is a problem before you. Where will you be tomorrow, more importantly? Because it's very rare in what I do that people, once they see it, that they want to help with it. And I've seen people that want to, and it's always good, and it's very rewarding to know that it's impacted people that way. But more often than not, people want to come into a system kind of like a tourist visiting a town, you know. And if everybody just put a little bit more into helping it grow, that could help make the problem diminish a little bit too, I think, too, because that's awareness. If everybody became an advocate for whatever the social woe was beyond their instance,
right?
You know,
right.
I think that would be helpful too.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not just if not only the people who are directly impacted, the victims, for lack of a better word, said something, but if the people who are close to the victims said something, because they have a voice. They have a dog in the race too.
Yeah.
And if they said something, they've got a totally different, less directly impacted, but as emotional in some ways, voice that should be heard too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that would be easier, because where you get the victim who doesn't want to make a big deal out of it, you may have somebody else that says, no, I'll tell you what happened.
Well, and the thing is too, another thing that we're going to be working on, I don't know when I'll find the time for this, but we also wanted to do an art show. And to do that as a fundraiser, and to invite people, victims, but also their friends and family. Because when a victim is going through this, their family and friends too are going through it, and they're trying to be as supportive as they can. And I've had relatives, when I was working with the victim, tell me coping mechanisms that they had, whether it was writing or, and so this is where we got the idea for an art show. And so anybody out there, if they want to donate art, please feel free. Contact me at info@the R.A.D.A.R project.com. But because it's all of this is a process, and so you're right, there are other people that are involved in this, and it's the more people that we bring in to this whole topic and what everyone is going through, the more transparent it'll be.
What would be interesting is to get one of those art studios to donate a class and have the victims paint the art.
That would be wonderful.
Because that could be therapeutic too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And cathartic in
some
way.
That's another thing is that would be wonderful, is to have, a space where kids could come and paint and, work through their trauma. There are many legs to this, and the thing about it, I've because of working in Chester County, having that pleasure, and seeing how the district attorney's office and everyone underneath them, all the systems, there's a lot in Chester County for victims, and we're really lucky. And I think Montgomery and Delco are the same. Philadelphia is wonderful, from what I can see. Women Organized Against Rape in Philadelphia love the R.A.D.A.R project, give our handouts out to people. But there's so many areas that need so much work. There really isn't any end to it, and I wish that more people would get involved. And if there were certain avenues that they were interested in, I mean, I'm sure that if they wanted to volunteer a little bit of time, they could have an impact. But, and I said that about the district attorney's office in Chester County because I was talking to a woman out in California, and she lives in the area between San Diego and the Arizona border. And she was telling me that a friend of hers had been raped, and in that area of a little over 300,000 people, just to give you an idea of how bad it can be in other areas, there is one rape crisis advocate that's in a community of a little over 300,000 people. That's crazy. Chester County has 500,000 people, about 500,000 people in it. And there are rape crisis counselors, there's a domestic violence center, and they are all...
So based on your statistics, like 37,500 of those people have been sexually assaulted?
No.
If half were women and 1/4 of those had something happen to them, that person's potentially responsible
that
for
one person.
That one person.
So the woman that I was talking to, I was completely blown away, and we were texting, and but I have to call her because I said to her, how do you not write to a state representative and complain about this? And she said, oh, I have. And when they went to get the rape kit done, it took 17 hours because they had to drive another 50 miles to find a sane nurse who could do the exam. I mean, it's just, no place is perfect, right? But
17 hours is a bit excessive. I mean, I could have rode a turtle out of town.
That's insane to go get a rape kit done. I mean, she's already completely exhausted from the trauma, and then you have to experience that. I mean, but what that really tells you is just how lacking in importance something like this is, and just to even extrapolate this further. So just say that was a child who had been assaulted, and you had to put a child through that. I mean, it's just we're lucky because of where we live. But I talk to people all over the country, and it's really not as important as it should be.
And I always worry about with different services to help people that we have to be careful to not add to the pain, add to the suffering, re-victimize people to the process of helping them, by putting them through an arduous system, and just it's got to be as user-friendly as possible. And 17 hours for a rape kit is just,
Well, that was the driving to get there,
yeah.
And then waiting, and then let's face it, a rape kit doesn't happen in a half hour, and most people don't realize that in the length of time that it actually takes to do the kit, that most of that, and I hope for anyone who's listening and is interested in this, most of that time is spent with the nurse writing. And so it's not, the exam itself is not a long drawn out thing. Is it pleasant? No, of course it's not.
Could the exam only be done at a hospital?
Yeah.
Like, is that something that urgent care could do at some point? No,
because there's the chain of evidence, the after the rape kit's done, it has to be handed off to law enforcement. So no, I don't know. I mean, at least in this area, I don't know.
I'm just trying to think of ways to expand the availability of it.
Well, and here's another thing. There needs to be more sane nurses. And those are sexual assault nurses that are trained specifically to do this.
I thought you were saying that most nurses are crazy.
No.
Well, you said there needs to be more sane nurses. You're throwing acronyms around.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
And I know a couple nurses. I'm saying, yeah, that's kind of true.
But to train a nurse to do the sexual assault exam is expensive. And also, those nurses, they're at home, and they get a call and they come on back to work. We need you to come in and do a rape kit.
Oh, so it's not even like there's one on per shift or something like that.
No.
This is that much of a specialty still.
Yeah.
Huh.
And so actually it would be, oh my God, how great would that be if they were in urgent cares? If, a nurse could be on call, and work part-time and just go to an urgent care and, do the exam there. Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, because just like the app, it's making it easier for the person, and people are comfortable with different things. And
but and just to go back to that point about the exam, there's a lot of things that people assume are going to be longer and actually harder. Not that the exam is not an uncomfortable thing, but the nurses that I've worked with have been amazing. But just so that people know that most of that time is spent writing, And people are always very concerned or very confused about getting